everyone, it's Diane. It is time to start sewing the signatures into these journals, and I promised that I would show you how I do it with buttons added to the spine. So I have selected out of my really cool Cheese Krispies button box, I have selected some buttons. Most of them are vintage, some are not, that I can use, and I have a couple white ones which I won't use for this one because it's got a white background, but I'll use them in the other one that has more blue in it. I didn't have any nice yellow buttons. At least I only use ones that have 2 holes, not 4 holes. But I looked for some reds and blues, and I didn't have very many greens either. But I did have this one with a heart on it. It's like a wooden button with red, and this one with just a design. So I've got some buttons here, and we are going to right now select whatever thread I want to use. I don't know if I want to use red or white. Let's see if I have a red. Well, I don't have a red. I wonder why I don't have red. I have burgundy. So I guess I'll use, I don't have a white either, so it would have to be cream. I could do a contrast with blue, but I think I'll just do this color. I already prepped the spine. I already made my, forgot what that's called, template. And I punched my holes through the spine. If I can find the end here, is this it? It's tucked back in. Keep an old pair of tweezers in here and they come in pretty handy, more than you might know. Okay, that helps me pull it out. So I will take 3 times the length of my signature and a little extra. And I could make it so that the knots will be on the outside and then tie it, you know, have some short strings hanging, but I think I'll just tie it so that the knots are on the inside this time. And I'm going to try to stay in frame. I have this washi tape here because it's a little awkward for me sometimes to work up here, but I can't get my camera to show down here, so I'll try to stay within frame. All right, now I need to prep the first signature. And I just do that by going through it and making sure the pages are lined up how I want them, and removing any loose tags that might get in the way. They might slip out and get in the way. So you see these holes here are where the book was sewn into the pages were sewn into the book, and I didn't try to cover them or anything because I like that. It's just a vintage page, so I left that. I could have covered it. Here is a postcard, a couple of postcards that I can pull out. A lot of times I think, well, that probably wouldn't be a problem if I left it in, but just to be safe, I do pull them out. So like pages that are shorter, I'll just put them where I want them. This one is in the middle, but then I might have one near the top and one near the bottom. I just line everything up the way I want it, like this. This is a short one, so that can go down there. That's a short one, so I can move this one up here. Okay, now this is the center, so all the pages, as far as where they're going to be lined up, are taken care of, but I'll still need to go through and take out any loose tags. So I just take a binder clip and clip it on. And I've done this recently with my Start to Finish journal series. I think I'll just leave that in because it's not going to slip down in there. But this will be a little different because I will be sewing or adding buttons as I sew. But you've seen these steps if you watched that series. Want to make sure everything is stacked right up into the center. And there are no air pockets. Okay, that feels pretty good. So I'll take my template and just fold it in the middle and use that to punch my holes. Shifted a little, so I want to make sure I got the center hole right where I punched. Okay. Always close that up. Okay, so I have my needle threaded. I've got my holes punched. Now we can start sewing. So I put my needle into the center, in and then out through the back. In the middle hole, I have 5 holes punched. This is a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. You can do a 3-hole, but I always do 5. And then I'll put it down through the spine in the center. In the first row of holes, because I have 3 rows of holes in the spine. And then pull it through, but leave a nice long enough tail so you can tie it up when you're done. All right, so now we're going to add a button. I'm going to start with a heart button. So I'll just thread my needle through it, through both holes, so that the needle comes out on the bottom of the button, not on the top, so that it's ready to go back down into the spine. So I've got my button threaded, and you can adjust it once you get it sewn in. Go back down into the spine and into the signature and up into the middle of the book. Now let's look at that button. So the heart button will be sideways because that's how the holes are aligned. And sometimes you need to adjust them more than once. You could wait till you're all done, but I had it down into the middle, and then when I tightened it up, it snapped back up to the top. You can put them wherever you want. It doesn't have to be in the middle. So there's one button on. I'm going to keep going up to the next hole. And down into the hole in the spine. a blue button. So this heart-shaped one is not vintage, but this button is. Isn't that pretty? And put it through both holes. And then down into, going back down, so into the next hole and up into the middle. I cautiously pull tightly so that you need to pull it tightly, but you need to be cautious so that you don't break your thread. Don't get too aggressive. I have done that, broken the threads. Now I'm going to be going down, so this button will be here. And I think I'll just use this pale yellow. This is the best yellow I had, and only one. And now I'm going to come back up. You could put more than one button on each stitch too. I could have put 2 buttons on this stitch, but I don't normally. If you're using smaller buttons, it might be fun to do that. But I feel like you can't really pull the threads as tightly as you would if the button wasn't on it, because the button takes up some slack, or creates some slack or something, because the thread goes up into the button instead of just laying flat on the spine. So I don't want to, I've been struggling getting this pulled through, so I always keep these in my sewing kit here, my bookbinding kit. I have one more stitch to make here. I don't have a lot of greens either, apparently. I have lots of reds and blues. Well, I'm going to put a blue here. And then I'll put a green in the other row of buttons. I'm only going to do 2 rows because I found that the buttons kind of compete with each other if I have 3 rows of buttons too close together. So I do the middle signature with no buttons. And back into the center. Then we'll tie a knot and we'll be done with this signature. Before I tie the knot, I'm going to make sure that all the buttons are where I want them. They look pretty good, and the strings are tight. So I have one thread on one side of this center thread and one thread on this side, one end I should say. So when I tie it, it will encase the stitching. And I always leave my thread in here so that my needle is easy to find for the next set of stitching, because I have a little case that I use. I usually sew these together while I'm watching TV, and I have this sitting on the couch next to me with all my stuff in it. I have other needles in here, so if I just drop a needle in there, it's easier for me to know which one I want, because I found a needle that I really like and I want to keep it. So that's just my tip. I just leave my needle threaded until I'm ready to put a new length of thread in it. Now, just so that I don't get a pile of ephemera and don't remember where to put it, I always put everything back in before I empty the next signature. So I'm going to do that real quick. And I'm going to just go ahead and sew the middle signature in while you're watching. Might not do a lot of commentating on it, because I want you to see both rows of buttons being sewn in. I'm going to go to my sewing machine and sew some fabric tabs on those cards. Okay, now get this done. There's a card in here too, but that won't fall out. I take all the stuff out front to back, and then when I put it all back in, I just work back to front because they're all stacked up in order. It helps me remember what goes where. So I want this one in the middle. And this one down. Well, this one's full length. Now, if you don't know how to sew an envelope into the middle, you can watch this. So I have this envelope, which I already opened up. I just took one of these types of things and carefully worked it open. And I liked it because it's got the red interior. Goes with the Raggedy Ann very nicely. So I open that up and I will sew it right in right there. You've probably seen this and already know that, but new people might not know. So now I'll just quickly go through and remove any other tags. Is that all? Huh. Of course, you must be careful to keep your fingers out of the way. Well, this one doesn't, I made it a little longer, so I would be easier to tie a bow, but then I remembered I'm not going to have this knot showing up with the envelope. That's okay. So again, down into the center. Make sure your signature is facing right side up to the top of the book. I have sewn signatures in upside down before. It's a little frustrating to have to take them out and sew them in again. So I'm not going to add buttons to this row. I could add small buttons if I wanted to. Got to make sure I catch the envelope, but right now, since it slipped out of place, I'm just going to go up through the hole in the paper, and then I'll catch the envelope. So a signature, or what is it called, pamphlet stitch, is very, very easy. It's just down, up, down, up. The thing you do have to remember, I'll tell you when I get back into the inside. The thing you have to remember when you're going from one end to the other is to skip the middle. Skip right over that hole, and you'll come back to it at the end. So skip it and go down to the next to the last hole. Using an envelope in the middle is very easy if you're using a, if you make your own envelope and you don't seal it up, or if you use a digital kit that has envelopes. So you cut your envelope out and fold it, but you don't glue it until you're done sewing it in. But I often use vintage envelopes, and then I have to just carefully open them. You could try steaming them. Oops, I came up in the middle of the thread. I don't want to do that. Okay. Even though there's no buttons, oops, see, it's a good thing I came to check. I always check to make sure everything looks good and tight on that side. But that was caught on a pom-pom. I didn't think it felt right. Okay, looks good and tight. So now I'm going to tie it in a knot, and I can cut the string short because it's going to be stuck inside the envelope. So you're getting a tutorial on sewing buttons on the spine and sewing an envelope into the middle of your signature. Since I'm right here at my desk doing it, I can go ahead and glue the envelope right away. Like I said, I normally do this watching TV, so then I wait till the next day. And sometimes I do a flip through and haven't glued my envelopes together. So just put a little glue on your flap and close it. I remember the first time I saw a journal that somebody made on YouTube, and this envelope just flipped back and forth like that, and I had no idea how they did it. But once you learn it, it's like, oh! Okay, and I'll put this back in it. Okay, one more signature, and we're going to add buttons this time. I'll worry about that thread later. My daughter and I got our nails done yesterday. And look, I got, can you see it? Pretty gold flower leaves painted on. I don't know if you can see it. She hand painted them, one on each hand. You have to pay extra for that. I don't have a lot of things tucked into the back half of the signature. But I have done a lot of things to these journals. And I will add some extras so you can play some more and add some more. Just making sure all the holes are right down on the line, the fold. They look good. old pair of pliers my husband had. He gave them to me when he watched me one night struggling to try to get the needle through the holes. All right, so I'm gonna go up again, up this way, and I don't want to put a red heart or a red button here because I have red here. And I have blue right there, but maybe I'll put 2 red in this string and a green, because I have 1 extra color there in yellow. So I'll put a green one up here. No, I'm going to put a blue one there. So it's just according to your own aesthetics, how you want to line up your colors. So I'll put a blue one up here. And then I'll add the green, and then the red will come from here down to here with another blue. No, wait, I forgot, I'm doing 2 reds, not 2 blues. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I am going to put the green here. Okay, I have this bigger green. I'll use that. So that little mix-up had nothing to do with how to sew the buttons on. It was just, what colors do you want to use? So I don't want to really line this up right here either. So the heart could slide up and the green could slide down, but I'll figure all that out once all the buttons are sewn on. So come back up, and it's a little trickier now because you have other pages flopping around and getting in your way, but it's not that bad. You can do it. So now I'll do a red one. This is vintage. See the texture in it? I had a lot of buttons, and then I sold most of them. I had them separated by color families, and this is all I have left because I just picked out the ones I wanted and put the rest in a big bundle and sold them. Trying to keep fewer supplies on hand. So right now I wish I had more yellow and green. I don't know why I didn't keep more yellow and green. I tried to keep some from each color. But it's okay. I don't regret selling what I had. That looks cute. Okay, moving down. Skip the center hole. Go all the way down here. And I want another red. This is a different vintage red button. I told my mom, I went to my parents' house to give them some of the lemon pie that I made. All right, see, I'm popping up here in the hole, but the button was right there, which is okay. I'll just slide it down and I can tighten it up. Make sure your button doesn't flip over. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I told my mom that I'm making Raggedy Ann journals, and she read Raggedy Ann stories to us when we were kids, and she made Raggedy Ann and Andy costumes for Halloween for my brother and me. So she likes Raggedy Ann. I meant to put the blue down here and the red up here, but I am not going to worry about it. So she said she can't wait to see them, so I'll make sure I show them to her before they go to their new home. Oh, those two blues are just the same, too. That's okay. I don't care. So it definitely takes longer to sew the signatures in when I'm sewing buttons on, but then I'm done. I don't have to take the time to make a charm or the bead dangles or anything. Whoops, I unthreaded it. I leave the thread in for the next time I need it. I'll be sewing the other one together. I'm going to watch a movie with Layla this evening. She's going to come over and have dinner with me. And we're going to watch Inside Out 2. I'll sew a signature in while we watch. Okay, now put the pieces back in, and then if I have time, I'm going to try out, yeah, we got time. This is from an apron, and I have the apron tie. So I'm hoping that that will be big enough to tie around this journal. And I will definitely show you the details when we do our final flip through. There's so many different elements in these journals. There we go. You can see how the spine looks with the buttons on it. Now let me grab my tie. It's right here. So this was on the waistband and then the ties. So it's all connected. Makes it a nice long tie. I can make it look prettier when I do it for the final tie, but it's definitely long enough. Covers up her face. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I hope that you learned what you needed to learn from this tutorial, and I'll be back with a flip through hopefully tomorrow. And when I do the flip through, I will let you know if the journals are in the shop right away or if they'll be scheduled to go in later in the day. Depends on what day I list them and what I have going on that day, as usual. So I forgot about these wooden beads with the red. I could have put one of those on instead of one of the red, but that's okay. So anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I'll be back with a final flip through. I've got a few more things to do, and then I'll be able to show it to you completed. I'm having so much fun making these, and I'll be happy to have them done and ready to go to their new home. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.